Ariana Grande's current public moment cannot be understood as a simple sequence of scandals, aesthetic changes, or relationship controversies. What is unfolding is far more structural and psychological, a long-delayed reckoning between a woman who was formed under relentless public consumption and an adult attempting to reclaim authorship over her own identity. The surface narrative, body scrutiny, romantic backlash, alleged on-set tension, and a retreat from pop stardom only makes sense when viewed through the deeper framework of developmental disruption and identity diffusion caused by early fame. From the moment Ariana Grande entered the entertainment industry as a child performer, her sense of self was shaped not internally but reactively. Child stardom, particularly within highly commodified systems like Nickelodeon and mainstream pop music, demands adaptability rather than authenticity. The child is rewarded not for coherence but for compliance, adjusting tone, persona, appearance, and emotional expression to fit scripts written by adults, executives, audiences, and algorithms. Over time, this produces a fractured internal architecture where identity becomes something worn, not something owned. This phenomenon is not speculative psychology, it is a well-documented outcome among child stars. Identity diffusion occurs when the developmental phase required to explore, reject, and solidify a stable sense of self is replaced by performance and external validation. Instead of asking, "Who am I?" the individual learns to ask, "What version of me is rewarded?" That conditioning does not dissolve with adulthood. It embeds itself into instinct. Grande's adult career has been a masterclass in adaptive brilliance. She has demonstrated extraordinary talent, discipline, and emotional intelligence in navigating fame. But adaptability, when prolonged without grounding, eventually becomes exhaustion. What once protected the self begins to erode it. The endless shape-shifting musical eras, vocal affectations, aesthetic reinventions, emotional transparency on command, creates the illusion of agency while quietly hollowing the core. The public often misreads this pattern as inconsistency, manipulation, or instability. In reality, it is the residue of survival. This underlying fracture became impossible to ignore when scrutiny shifted from her work to her body.
With a body and to be seen, and I think we should be gentler and less comfortable commenting on people's bodies.
The fixation on her physical appearance in recent years did not emerge in a vacuum. It surfaced precisely at the moment when Grande attempted to slow down, pull inward, and redefine health on her own terms. The audience, accustomed to consuming her as a polished product, reacted violently to any deviation from the version they found most comforting. Her response to this scrutiny marked a significant rupture in her relationship with the public. Rather than deflecting or aestheticizing the criticism, she spoke plainly. She disclosed that the version of herself most praised as healthy by fans had coincided with her lowest psychological state, marked by antidepressant dependency, alcohol use, and emotional numbness. Conversely, the body now being scrutinized as unhealthy reflected a period of sobriety, boundaries, and intentional care. This confession destabilized the transactional agreement between celebrity and audience. It exposed a truth many prefer to avoid, that public approval is often calibrated toward appearances that conceal suffering rather than reflect wellness. By reframing the narrative, Grande did not merely defend herself. She indicted the system that rewards visible compliance over invisible survival. That moment matters because it signaled a shift. She was no longer willing to allow her body to function as a public barometer for moral judgment, nostalgia, or ownership. But setting that boundary did not end the scrutiny, it intensified it. Once a public figure disrupts the expectations placed upon them, they are often punished for breaking the illusion. The pressure intensified as her personal life became entangled with her professional environment. During the filming of Wicked, the stakes surrounding the production were immense. A beloved cultural property, massive financial investment, and a lead role positioned as a defining career pivot. Into that environment entered a highly controversial romantic relationship with a co-star, instantly weaponized by media narratives and fan outrage. What is often missed in these discussions is the structural imbalance at play. Grande was not simply navigating a relationship under scrutiny, she was navigating an identity fracture under surveillance while embedded in a corporate production that required emotional containment for profitability. Studios do not ask whether an artist is psychologically safe, They ask whether a narrative can be managed. The reported distance, awkwardness, and muted public interactions between Grande and her partner were interpreted as performative or insincere. In reality, they reflect something far more constrained: the collision between private vulnerability and institutional risk management. When a studio intervenes to shape how intimacy is displayed, even authenticity becomes suspect. Simultaneously, rumors of tension with her co-star, regardless of their factual accuracy, fed a familiar cultural trope that a woman under pressure must be the source of chaos. This narrative does not require evidence, it requires pattern recognition, biased by expectation. When a woman is visibly thin, emotionally guarded, romantically controversial, and professionally central, instability is assumed. What distinguishes this period from earlier controversies in Grande's career is her response. She did not escalate, explain excessively, or perform redemption. She withdrew, she reoriented, and she placed her focus on acting, not as expansion, but as refuge. Her portrayal of Glinda in Wicked has been described by Grande herself not merely as a role, but as a process of rebuilding strength. This language is revealing. Strength, in this context, does not signify ambition or dominance. It signifies containment. Acting offered a framework with boundaries, structure, and narrative limits, elements absent in pop stardom, where the self is the product. Unlike music, which demanded constant self-exposure, acting allowed Grande to disappear into character without being mistaken for the character herself. This distinction matters profoundly for someone whose identity has been conflated with performance since adolescence. Acting, paradoxically, offered privacy. This career pivot should not be interpreted as abandonment of music, nor as retreat due to scandal. It is a strategic narrowing of exposure, a recalibration of how much of the self is offered up for consumption. Fans sense this shift, even when they cannot articulate it. The anxiety surrounding Grande's health, her different presence, her changing voice or demeanor, reflects a deeper discomfort, the fear that the version of her they felt entitled to is no longer accessible. Concern and control often masquerade as the same emotion. What is unfolding is not collapse, it is consolidation. Grande is not unraveling under pressure, she is resisting being shaped by it. That resistance is messy, slow, and visually unsatisfying. It does not resolve neatly. It requires enduring misinterpretation without correction. For someone raised to please, this is a radical act, and it is only the beginning of the